Well, hey there, guys, and welcome back. On this week's show, we're talking welding gear. Well, from time to time here on the show, you guys know that I like to do a little bit of welding. And in my older welding videos, I was kind of struggling for a proper setup, and I used to weld on an old Black & Decker workmate table. Backbreaking experience, very low to the ground, caused more problems than what it solved. And then recently I got a new welding table, etc., etc. And some of you noticed that welding table, and I've been getting emails and questions regarding both that table and the gear that I use while welding. So I thought if there is an interest and I'm getting questions on it, it might be something that interests you. So on today's show, let's go through the PPE and some of the equipment that I use when I'm welding. Well, we are going to start off with the basic of basic here as far as PPE goes. And while you may not think that it's part of PPE, when it comes to welding, it is a pair of jeans. Guys, way too many people, I see it online, are wearing shorts when welding. Absolutely unacceptable. You're asking for trouble. Also, I see guys wearing things like jogger pants with a polyester blend. That is another no-no. Very flammable stuff. And with stick welding or arc welding, we get a lot of hot slag, which is basically molten metal, guys. And if you get some molten metal dropping on your pants, you are going to learn very quickly how hot molten metal is. So, bare minimal is denim. And while they're not fire retardant by any means, they are a lot thicker. They're not as flammable as what polyester blends are, and they will provide a good level of protection for your legs while you're welding. Coming in next, something that some guys neglect: work boots. Guys, steel toe may not be necessary. That's just me that wears them, but a good leather boot. These are actually my designated welding boots. They're just an old pair of work boots that serve their life, but they're still in great shape. The toes are not exposed, so I use them strictly for welding. You've heard me tell the story, guys, of the one time I forgot to wear my boots and had running shoes on, and hot slag landed right here on the foot, burned right through my running shoe and into my foot. And I'm going to tell you, that's a whole new level of ouch. So foot gear, we've got the denim jeans. Now you've got your feet protected. And honestly, if you don't have them, get them. There is something to be said about wearing leather work boots while you're welding. Well, the next thing I want to touch on is hand protection. And guys, that would be welding gloves. These things have an interior lining. It's very hard to see because it's up inside, but they have an interior lining that is very heat resistant. So as the arcs are coming off of your welding or off of your rods, they protect your hands and keep them from getting burned. Now, I have a couple pairs of them, but I will tell you, before you use your gloves, you want to inspect them, and I'll show you why. While this pair here looks great and they still fit well, and you know, they have good dexterity and that sort of thing, guys, look at the thumb of this one right there. We've worn through a little hole, and if I put my hand in there, you can see my flesh through that hole. So this here provides absolutely zero protection. And while welding, if you touch a hot rod here in this section or this area of your thumb, you will end up getting burned because your protection level is gone. But you can see, guys, they do get used. They are quite ragged. You can see some of the burn marks in the top of the glove and around the fingers. Guys, this would have been the back of my hand if it wasn't for the welding gloves. So a good pair of welding gloves. As well, while handling the steel, don't forget, guys, a pair of leather work gloves. Now, I've had these for years. I use these when handling the steel for cutting or just transporting it, moving it around. There are all kinds of oils on the steel. and you want to keep those off your hands, as well as protect yourself from sharp edges, from the cut edges of the steel. So a good pair of leather gloves goes a long way. And as well, if they're a good fitting glove, you can even use them inside your welding gloves for an extra layer of protection and to give you a little better fit if your welding gloves are a little on the loose side. So there's something as well that you can keep in mind when it comes to hand protection. Well, one of my favorite pieces of gear and one of my most hated pieces of gear is my welding jackets. And guys, I have two. I have this guy right here. This is my light duty jacket, and this one here is my heavier duty jacket. Now, what's the difference between the two? Well, my light duty jacket has sleeves that are all leather right up to the shoulder, but the body of the jacket itself is a fire retardant cotton. So while there is a bit of protection, and again, we can see burn holes here in my jacket where hot slag or sparks have fired off and landed on my coat, I did not get burned. So this jacket here is kind of for light duty, or if you're doing flat work. Now, the heavy duty jacket that I have, that's this one. This one is an all leather construction. Sleeves, body, back, everything is all leather. The only thing that is not leather is the entire strip down the spine. Guys, if you have sparks falling on your back, I think you're welding in some pretty weird positions. But this jacket here is a little heavy duty, and it's good for things like overhead welding and that sort of thing. Mostly in the shop, I wear this one. I have worn this one, and it's still a great jacket, and I do love it. But if it's hot out or if it's in the summertime, I try not to weld in the summer because of the heat. But you'll usually see me in my light duty. And guys, having it open to try to get some airflow in the front, that's a no-no. It has to be done up, and done up right to the neck. Have that full collar all the way around your neck to prevent from sparks going down the inside of your jacket and onto your chest or down your neck or that sort of thing. So fully done up, sleeves, the cuffs have to be snapped. None of this baggy loose cuffs. Snap them so that they're tight and nice and form-fitting around your wrist. That'll keep the slag from going down, as well as your help you to get the sleeve inside of your gloves. So guys, welding jackets fully done up and worn properly while you're welding. Well, the next item is a respirator, and I have two. I have this one, which is a little cheaper model, and then I have this one here. Guys, you want to make sure they're at least rated at a P100 for your filters. These filters here are actually done. These ones here can be cleaned, and I have cleaned them and they work just fine. But once they're done, you really need to replace them. And I just want to show you these filters. There's a lot of smoke that comes off of welding. And of course, if you're welding in a flat position, then that smoke comes straight up into your face. And unless you have a fume extractor aimed at your welding, sucking that away from you, this stuff is going right in your face, and you are breathing this in without this filter. Guys, look at this filter. This filter was white when it started. This is all the smoke and the toxins that are coming up off of the welding and into your face. This was a pure white filter. And this now is the filter doing its job and grabbing those toxins and keeping them out of your respiratory system. So this filter actually needs to be replaced. You should be checking them every once in a while. I will give this a wash. I might get a couple more sessions out of them, but filters are cheap, guys. Your lungs are not replaceable. Take care of them. So keep an eye on this and get yourself a good filter to wear while you're welding. Okay, one of my favorite, and it's probably just silly, but one of my favorite items of safety gear while I'm welding is my skull cap. Guys, I love this thing. Number one, it makes me look sexy. Number two, protects my head from any sparks or that sort of thing. And while I don't weld overhead very often, in fact, hardly ever, this would protect your hair from the slag falling into it and potentially igniting your hair. And while my hair is thinning and I don't have that much left, it still would hurt landing on my head. Now, if I don't weld overhead very often, why do I wear this every time I'm welding, regardless of the position? Guys, it's all about habit forming. It's all about getting into that routine where you don't weld until you get your gear on. And if this is part of your gear, then you will never have the problem or the issue of getting ready to weld overhead and finding out the hard way that you forgot to put your skull cap on. So it's very important to have a habit forming routine where this is what you do regardless of what you need it. Do I need this skull cap for what I'm welding? No. Should I put it on? Yes, you should, just to make sure that you have that ingrained in you for the rest of the times that you're welding. So although you may not require it at all times, skull cap, it'll make you look cool and keep your head from getting burned. Yeah. Now, one of the most important things to wear, aside from, of course, the jacket and stuff, I'm not saying that anything is not important, but in my opinion, one of the important things, very important, is your helmet. For several reasons. Number one, it protects your face from flying sparks and that sort of thing. But as well, the most important thing here is it protects your eyes. Guys, the arc that comes from arc welding, from stick welding, is brutal. It will burn the retinas right out of your head. It will destroy your vision, and it will do it very, very quickly. So you need a hood, you need a helmet, you need the visor, whatever you want to call this thing. And mine are all auto darkening. Now, this is my original that I have. I actually have, I think, 4 helmets all together, but this one here is my original. They all have various features that I like. I have one that has a much larger viewing section so that I can see much better when I'm welding. This one here has a very small viewing window. I have other ones that are much lower profile, and I usually use those when I'm MIG welding. They almost look like a motorcycle helmet and don't provide as much protection as what a full face one like this does, but it's still a great helmet. And it has another great viewing area that I can see. But one thing that they all have in common, aside from your adjustable head strap or your head harness, is that they all are auto darkening. Guys, I have tried the static helmets before where your lens is constantly dark, and I'm going to tell you, while they work and they protect your eyes, what the problem is that you cannot see where you're sparking or where you're starting to fire up one of these rods. So it's very difficult, and you can get the rod, a lot of sticking with the rod, a lot of missed sparks. You can get your bead way off target at first and then have to bring it back to where you are once you can finally see. So with the auto darkening, you can still see everything that's going on and be able to strike your arc exactly where you want it. And then the second that arc strikes, these things go jet black and you now just see the puddle of your weld as you're watching it. So whether you have a plain one like this with a smaller view, they also, in most cases, have the ability to be flipped up or taken out of your way and used as eye protection while grinding. Or in some cases, they don't flip up and you would change a setting on the mask in order to make it so that it does not darken during the grinding, because that can cause a problem. But for those of you like me that wear glasses, you may or may not be able to see here, these are corrective lenses in here. So if you are someone that wears eyeglasses, you can get your welding helmets with corrective lenses in them so that you can see what you're welding. You don't have to worry about that blurry factor. You don't have to worry about using your regular glasses. For me, I wear trifocals, and that can really cause a lot of problems inside of a helmet. So you don't have to worry about that because you can get corrective lenses for your helmets. So like I said, is whether you're wearing a simple style like this or something fancier like some of the other ones that I just showed here, as long as you've got it, that's the important part. Well, this here is the next thing I want to focus on now that we've talked about our PPE. Guys, this is the new welding table setup, and this thing is spectacular. For starters, one thing that I like about it is that it folds up. So it doesn't take up any more room than this. I can place it up against the wall, in behind a tool, out of the way. I don't have to have a permanent welding setup in order to be able to weld in the shop. The other thing that I like about it is it has height adjustment for the legs. So depending on your comfort levels and how high or low you like the platform to be as you're welding, you can make adjustments for that. And the other thing that I like about this is the central ground clip. Now, guys, this is nothing more than a copper bolt that is connected to the table, and you can clamp your working clamp onto that from your welder, and then all you need to do is clamp your workpiece onto this table and it's instantly grounded out. So you don't have to keep moving your ground clamp all the way around in order to arc weld. You can have it attached to the table and have a constant ground in your table. And as long as your workpiece of steel is touching the table and securely touching it, you have a good solid ground in order to work. So your working clamp can be like a permanent fixture, so to speak. It's a great little unit. I got it from Princess Auto, which it's actually, I got it on sale fairly inexpensively. Is it the highest quality? Probably not. But does it suit my needs? Most definitely. Has a ton of holes in the top of it for clamping, to be able to get your C clamps or your F clamps in there and securely clamp your work to the top of the table. Plenty of clamping options. It's just a great little table. I love this thing. So I'll post the link to this down below. If you're interested, you can look into it for yourself. Well, I guess the last thing we can talk about here is my actual welder itself. And guys, that is a Lincoln Electric Tombstone welder. It's an AC/DC 225/125 model. It actually welds in both AC and DC current. Now, I prefer the DC welding. The arc is much more stable. I just get better results with DC. I'll post a link to this welder down below. It might seem pricey, but it's actually not bad. And in my opinion, it's one of the most versatile and rugged home shop welders there is. It's just a great little unit. I love this thing. And there you have it. The welding gear of stick welding or arc welding. Guys, this video was produced for a couple reasons. Number one, it was produced because I'm getting more and more questions about my welding table and the gear that I use, my welder, that sort of thing. This is not about how to weld. There are some guys online that claim to be experts in welding. I'm not going to claim that. There are people who are much better at welding than I am. And depending on what kind of a day of welding I had, sometimes I'm nothing more than a grinder. But that is one of the main reasons that this video was produced, was because there was an interest. People are asking me about the gear. So I thought I would put this out here for those of you that are interested. The other reason that I put this out here is I see far too many guys online, usually the ones that claim to be the experts, and they're doing welding tutorials and they're wearing like short little leather gloves for their welding process, no face shield. They're doing one of these with their eyes, no safety gear whatsoever. It is absolutely terrifying. These guys are looking for a world of hurt. It just takes one incident to make a difference in how you think about your safety gear in the shop. And hopefully that one incident is not catastrophic and it's just a learning process instead of a recovery process. So what you really need to think about here from today's show, this is not about you need this brand of this and this brand of that. You may have noticed I'm a fan of Lincoln Electric gear. It's just the way it is. I like their gear. They've always had quality stuff, and that's what I like. It's not about promoting a brand. I paid for everything on today's show, so I have no need to promote a certain brand. I owe nobody anything. This is all bought by me. So all this is, it's more of making you aware that if you're looking at getting into welding, it's not a matter of buying an arc welder and starting to melt metal and make some sparks. That is not what it's about. There's a lot more involved. There's gloves, shields, face shields. There is the jacket, there's denims, there's boots, there's the welding machine itself. For me, I even have fireproof curtains that I hang around the shop and lay on the floor to help prevent any slag from drifting off. I have a woodworking shop. There's sawdust out here. So before any welding, everything has to be swept. Those fireproof mats have to be laid down, that sort of thing. So there's extra expense involved in getting into welding. It's not just the welding machine and the materials. So that's something that you want to think about if you're looking at getting into welding. Either way, if you are already welding out there and you know what, you're not wearing some of this stuff, I hope that today's show has served as a little bit of an inspiration to get you to start wearing some of this PPE and stop putting yourself at risk. Guys, I want to thank you so much for tuning in. I hope this show hasn't come off as too much of a high horse on my pedestal preaching kind of a vibe. That was not my intentions at all. I just hate to hear that anybody got injured or severely injured, especially doing something that they enjoy doing. And I truly do love welding. I enjoy it very, very much. And if I was getting injured on a regular basis from doing it, I don't think I'd like it as much. So I do love my gear. Is it uncomfortable? Yeah. Is it hot? Heck yeah. But do I wear it? 100% every time. Guys, if you haven't already, if you found any part of today's show likable, enjoyable, informative, why not like and subscribe to the channel? We have an amazing audience base here, and I'm hoping that you're going to consider becoming a part of that. Guys, I'm going to post all the links that I can down below for the gear that I use. Hopefully I'll be able to put it all together because I did buy it from various places, so I'm not sure exactly where to get the links, but I'm going to try to put the links down below for that stuff. I hope that if you're interested in welding, some of these links will help you. I hope that if you're looking at getting into welding, that today's show is giving you a little bit of information. I hope that if you're already a welder, that this show has given you a bit of a reminder and a little bit of a push to get that PPE on and don't cut corners when it comes to your health and safety. And more importantly, guys, I hope you're going to join me again next week when I bring you yet another Alternative Tuesdays.